And the way that that's going to occur will be as a result of a consolidation agreement. And we hope to have that completed by the end of July or so. And that's really a plan for how all of this is going to work out over the next several months. There's some parts of it that can happen, pretty quickly. One of the things we're getting a lot of help from the Cardinal folks with is coming out and meeting counties and being, beginning to be the face, if you will, and talking about really what's working and what's not working, so that we can begin to work with Cardinal on those things that we need to go forward with. After that, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that are very complicated and will take a lot of time to work out. Working very closely with the department on that, and again, with the Cardinal crew and the boards, and again, that'll be a process. That document will be public, and then again, it will try to lay out the multiple steps and milestones over the next several months about how all of this will work out. So that's the real short story on consolidation. And I'll tell you, it has been great to work with the Cardinal board and their staff. They've done a very courageous thing. And we are honored that they would choose us to be the organization that they would want to work with on this. And, their confidence in us that we can do a good job for all of you. We have a lot of appreciation for that. Their motivation for it has been clear, and it lines up completely with where we're at. It is all about members. What we do because of the members, your citizens. And this is our fourth consolidation. And for each one of them, very simple: seamless to members, seamless to providers. That our job is to do the work, okay? It's not your job. We're coming to you. We're going to do the work to make this just as fluid as possible, so that there's hardly anything that is disturbed in this whole big process. And they've been great to work on with that. If you look at the letter of agreement, it really outlines those principles. And I guess you might say those are, guiding principles that both organizations are working towards. How VIA works with DSS, law enforcement, and other county partners. Rhonda, do you want to step up here for a minute and introduce yourself and just say a little bit about this?
Would. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rhonda Cox. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Population Health Officer for VIA. And I know we have a very limited amount of time, so I want to be respectful of that. And I'm hoping someone will give us a warning. One of the things that we've learned, I've been with this company almost 18 years. And I started in the community, and my first job was to figure out how to make a very frustrated set of counties that had DSS, juvenile justice, law enforcement, who were all very angry about the dissolution of the community mental health center. And we did that by partnering very aggressively with DSS, our law enforcement partners, and that because we knew we had to stabilize services and supports, and we did that in counties that were very small. In that process, we also made the commitment that regardless of the county size, they would have the same service as any other county in our catchment. And that is a commitment that we have made. I know a lot of times when counties are smaller, they have this concern that they're somehow going to be left out. What you would want to know from Warren County is you're larger than 7 of our counties where we've made that commitment. And I think I want to refer you back to that list about don't take it from us. We believe strongly about let another man's lips praise you. So what I would say to you is check it out, call the DSS director, call others about us, talk to our county commissioners in those small counties. They will tell you, we walk our talk. So our goal is we would prefer to underpromise and over-deliver. And I think that's one of the strategies that we've employed that's helped us be very successful. And I think we're going to shift to have folks just very briefly talk about how we stay engaged in the community, because we also believe about accountability and about frequent communication. And we believe and strongly in having our staff on the ground with you, where you have information about your county, and we have some level of responsive system. So again, I think that's often a frustration. We know that there's been a lot of challenges here. You guys have to travel for a lot of things. We heard that earlier. And I think one of the things that we know is transportation is frequently one of the largest barriers that prohibits people from being able to get what they need when they need it. And so we work very diligently at the different pressure points in our system with our community relations team, with our network team, to make sure that to the degree we can minimize that and have things in county, that's what we want to give to you. And that's the type of services that we've offered to our other counties.
Perfect. Thanks, Rhonda. VIA's community relations approach, including how Warren County would have input to VIA and receive regular reporting from VIA. And in just a second, I'll let Brian Shuping come up and talk to you. There's another question that comes up in every one of these meetings. How are we going to have input? And there's a slide there, and again, I'm not even going to try to go over that. I think there's 11 or 12 things on it. So you pick, okay? How do you want to be involved? What are the things that you want to be engaged about? Because it's everything from the board of directors down to Consumer and Family Advisory Council, County Commissioner Advisory Board, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, honestly, there's more ways for you to be involved than probably you can be involved. So we're very open about that. Other question we get a lot is, well, what about your board? What's the new board going to be like? And I don't know. And no one knows right now. One of the jobs or responsibilities that joint steering committee is going to have is thinking about what type of representation we need to have from counties and other constituents to properly inform VIA. And it's really that simple. We have already gotten a verbal agreement, I would say, from the department about having an alternate board structure. And you might hear from Trillium this evening about how that structure works for them with regional boards and things like that. That seems like the direction that would make the most sense right now. But I know that joint steering committee is going to be very interested in, input from everyone really on what people think would be the best way to go about approaching this. Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about community relations?
Good evening, and thanks again for having us at your meeting. I'm Brian Shupin, Executive Director of Community Relations for VIA Health. So I come to these types of meetings all the time. I was commending the chairman on your public forum here, question and answer. I don't know that I've seen that many people at one of those in a while. So, I mean, you've really got the community engaged, and that's a great thing. I've got a team of staff that are out in the communities and work directly with key stakeholders, commissioners, county managers, DSS directors, health directors. And our real strategy around that is that you've got a single point of contact. So if something's not working well, whether it's one neighbor or it's something for kids in the school or whatever, you can contact one of my staff, me directly. What's great about that is VIA has really empowered my staff to be the face of the agency in those communities. So we're able to quickly problem solve and resolve issues, whether it's working with our network department on changing services, bringing in a new service, or getting someone into a local clinic. So, just want to think that I think our counties think that's really important, that they can get a quick turnaround and have a single point of access at the leadership level at VIA. I also wanted to mention those activities report straight up to Brian Ingram. So I just want to talk to his commitment around making sure that communities are really getting the service and care they need for their citizens. And our approach is really around just an individualized approach. So it would be different in this county than it would maybe your neighboring county, just depending on your needs. We also engage our DSSs frequently, either case-by-case basis or quarterly, monthly, whatever they need. So that's another thing I think our counties would say that's working really well. And I would encourage you to reach out to our counties and check on us, check our references like Brian has mentioned. I think you'll hear really good things and hear about the collaborative relationship we've got with each of our communities. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I like to say those are the folks that are like water. They have to just kind of seep into everything and be present and be supportive and, a lot of problem solving. And again, I think this is the same thing you experience with Terrell and Elliot. And believe me, we're not about, trying to replace them. It's building on those kinds of relationships and keeping those things going, because I know you have a lot of respect for them. In most cases, like them, we empower these folks to be able to problem solve as much as they can, and then, push things on to others if it's a more complex issue. So it's a very practical approach. Access to care. the whole business of providers, the provider network, how is that going to work? The simple answer to that is all the providers that are currently under contract with Cardinal, those contracts would be assigned to us, seamless, okay? So there wouldn't be really anything that would disrupt any care to any member. So continuity of care would go on like nothing had ever happened. And really there's two parts that come after that. One, excuse me, as we look at essentially contract management. Are you satisfied with providers? Are they doing what they've been contracted to do? So we kind of go through a process around that uses that contract to really manage the deliverables. And, at some point that's either kind of a yes or a no. And if we need to build on that, if services are inadequate, that's something we have a lot of experience in doing. And really maybe the most important point with this is, we have experience doing this. Again, Rhonda said there's 7 counties that we have that are smaller than you. So we figured out how to do this in rural areas that don't have a lot of population. And that has some real challenges associated with it as far as scale and choice and like that. But I think, we've been very successful with that. And again, we'd use that same kind of approach. But I want to let Donald come up here and talk a little bit. Could be anything about crisis services. I know that's something that, typically communities are real encouraged, upset, whatever adverb you might choose, with that, something we've had very robust development on. Donald?
Yeah, thank you for letting us be here tonight. My name is Donald Roos. I'm the Senior VP of Provider Network Operations for VIA. And I'm the person accountable to you in your communities to make sure they're getting access to the services and supports they need. And that's not always an easy job. As we're trying to serve our citizens, just like we heard from you guys here, is that we got to do a lot of work. We got to build a lot of collaboration. And we got to be accountable not only to us, but to our provider organizations. And so one of the things that we've done is we work really closely with our partners. We talk a lot about proximity. For VIA is how close can we get to the problem? Because the closer we can get to the problem, the easier and the better we can be part of the solution. Our goal is not only to be close, but to also bring our providers close and to bring that accountability to the table. So what you'll see with us is that we'll be at the table and we'll also bring our providers at the table, and that we'll have that shared accountability with you and your citizens to make sure they're getting access to the services and the supports they need. We do that on an individual basis. We work with our DSSs, our Department of Juvenile Justices, law enforcement, to really create services and supports that work in your local community. We know there's not a one-size-fits-all on those services, so as we bring services into the county, we really want to make sure they're the right services that are going to be utilized and supported. It makes no sense for us to bring a bunch of services to the county that don't fit for what you want to do and how you want to grow, and it's going to fit your citizens. And so we've worked individually with our counties, and we've created unique continuums of care for our Department of Social Services, our juvenile justice. We've worked closely with our sheriffs to make sure that they have the right services and supports. I heard that you guys have made the commitment in the Stepping Up initiative, so definitely applaud you with that. That shows your commitment to make a change in your systems. And whenever we see that always gets me giddy, because we could talk about an hour of how we could really make positive change with law enforcement. And so we have a lot of initiatives that we've started across our system. They're in your packet. If you want to look at that, of what we've done with law enforcement, all the way to law enforcement assisted diversion, our first responder rapid response cycle that we have, our post-opioid response systems, community paramedics. We're doing all of these pieces in all of the counties, but it's a part of sitting down with you, sitting down with our local partners, and bringing our providers to the table to really create these unique services. So as Brian said, we're going to bring our providers to the table, as well as the providers that are sitting here, to really create as robust of services as we can. And like Brian said, take a look at some of our smaller counties and see what the services that we're currently providing in those counties. They're pretty robust for those small counties. Our largest challenge sometimes is asking those counties, why aren't you using some of the services we're putting there. And that's why we have to really be at the table to optimize those services. Law enforcement sometimes don't know they're there to take advantage of them because they're not optimized. And that's where being central to the problem, sitting at the table and optimizing those services is critical in our community. So if you do have questions around any of the services that are in the packet or around the services we provide, I'll leave my information at the end of the presentation. And any of you are welcome to reach out to me and ask me, how does this work? In any of your counties, we'll be glad to share.
Thanks, Donald. You know, none of this has to do with geography. It just doesn't. You know, we bring what we do to wherever we are. And, you know, again, because this is our fourth consolidation, that's always a question that's on people's mind. You know, how are you going to love us like you love all those people back in the West? We just bring the same model and we bring it here just like we have in all the other occasions. And then finally, the last part of your packet is really just some reports that all of the LME MCOs make to the state that are important metrics on LME MCO performance. We're one of only 2 LME MCOs in the state that have always passed on all the super measures. So we have a perfect record with that. And again, we're proud of that. The reports speak for themselves. You tell me what questions you have, or we can just end it right there. Your choice, sir.
That's pretty good. I do recognize that it's a wealth of information that has to be considered. And of course, to our county manager and other professionals that we have working for the county government, want to have an opportunity to review a lot of this information. I know the commissioners would like to have an opportunity to review a lot of the information also, and probably have you back here sometime soon in regards to how will unfold. But with that said, I would definitely yield to any commissioner that have any questions at this point in time. All right. Well, I think so far so good, I guess.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your agenda.
Well, thank you. But I will say this right here. The impact on any of this is how well we're doing is what we come from our citizens. And that's what's most important to us, because the services that are rendered to our citizens is the direct impact on how well of a job that we are doing, that you are doing. And that's what's most important to us. So, but we do look forward to seeing how this unfolds. Thank you. All right. Trillium Health Services. That representative, she's making her way. Thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Commissioners Baker, Hunt, Pierce, and Powell. My name is Lisa Wainwright. I am the CEO of Trillium Health Resources, and I am delighted to be here with you this evening just to tell you a little bit about us. As my colleague Ryan Ingram said, Cardinal has made the decision to consolidate with VIA. That was clearly the decision and the purview of the Cardinal Board to make that decision. I believe that Secretary Mandy Cohen and Deputy Secretary Dave Richard of the Division of Health Benefits has also made it clear to the county managers in the county, in the Cardinal counties, that this is an important choice for you to make. So we're at sort of an inflection point in changes in the mental health system in North Carolina. In 14 short days, the standard plans will go live. And so a lot of the Medicaid members whom we have been serving for their behavioral health and substance use disorder needs will now be going over to those commercial plans to be served. And we will concentrate just on those individuals with the highest, most severe needs. So it seems kind of appropriate at this time of lots of change in North Carolina to think about what makes the most sense for the citizens of Warren County in terms of a long-term relationship with one of these programs. Gave you a little graphic of our geographic footprint. We are 26 counties in eastern North Carolina. We go from the North Carolina border to the South Carolina line, pretty much 100% east of 95, and we are contiguous to Warren County through Nash. Our mission is transforming lives and community well-being through partnerships and proven solutions. And we really believe in that. We see our role as helping communities be healthier, helping individuals be healthier, and knowing that healthy families and children build strong, healthy communities. Our philosophy is that members deserve easy access to care. We have a no wrong door approach to member access. If somebody doesn't know where to go to see a service provider, they can certainly call our call center, and we are more than happy to give them their choices of provider agency. But more importantly, if they know that their cousin went to see this provider and had a really good success rate, then they can choose to go directly to that provider. They don't have to call us first. They may go see whomever they think will best meet their needs, and we are fine with that. We do believe that our providers are our partners in delivering high quality care. And our job is to meet the needs of people with mental illness, addiction, intellectual or developmental disabilities, or traumatic brain injury throughout our entire territory. A few facts and figures about us, and like my colleague, Mr. Ingram, I would very much welcome the opportunity to come back and talk to you more. I'm just kind of trying to give you a taste, and maybe a little appetizer will make you think, okay, we want to hear more of what they have to say. So as I said, we're a 26 county program. We are very rural. We have the two counties with the smallest population in the state of North Carolina, Hyde and Turrell. Our largest city is Wilmington in New Hanover County, which I think is number 10 in the state of North Carolina. We currently serve a population of a total of 1.5 million, but as I mentioned, in 14 days, a whole lot of that Medicaid population will leave us and go to the standard plans. I've given you the demographic breakdown of our current population, and I think what that demonstrates is we have to concentrate on providing really culturally competent services because we have to serve all people in our communities, be they white, African American, Hispanic, Native American, the totality of the population. Right now, we've got about 233,000 Medicaid covered lives. That will change July 1 and will drop to about 31,115, but those are the most severely in need people in our communities. I was interested in hearing the report from your economic development director. I took a break from most of my career is in mental health and human services, DSS, but I took a little break for a while and I went over to the Department of Commerce. So I'm always very interested in economic development statistics and what's happening there. And our Trillium catchment area currently contains 11 of the top 40 most economically distressed counties in North Carolina. So we know poor rural counties. We know the transportation problems that we heard some of your citizens talking about, and we know food deserts without a grocery store in the city limits. In fact, we have a whole section of our organization that we call Trillium Connections that works directly with communities to address those kinds of needs. Those non-medical drivers of health are critical to achieving long-term recovery from mental illness or substance abuse and for living your best life if you're someone with intellectual or developmental disabilities. So we address issues of housing, food insecurity, and certainly transportation as a huge need for our members. We have a comprehensive network of more than 600 providers, and we've got currently 550 employees who proudly live and work in Eastern North Carolina. Some things that I think set Trillium a little bit apart, some unique aspects of who we are. We have services that go above and beyond the requirements. All of the three of us that you will hear from tonight administer the same basic set of Medicaid services and state-funded services for uninsured and underinsured populations. We all follow the same policies, the same procedures. We have to do it the same way. That's the state's regulatory oversight. But we do have the ability to create some unique things and do some things a little bit different if that's what makes sense in our community. So some of the things that Trillium has done, we developed a service about 6 years ago called Child First, which serves children 0 to age 5. And it serves kids in the home when there has been some type of trauma in the home. So it serves both the caregiver and the child. Now, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't serve kids as young as 3 until they reach age 3. That's the way our contract with the state reads. But through this evidence-based practice, which we actually brought down from the state of Massachusetts, we can even serve those younger kids. And our primary referral for those services is our county departments of social services and pediatricians, because the pediatricians are the ones who first notice maybe there's some issue with this child really thriving, and what can we do to intervene as early as possible to try and ensure that child has a successful outcome. We offer family-centered treatment. We have 2 substance use residential programs for youth. About 4 years ago, we started day camps and after-school camps for children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Sometimes those kids don't do well in a typical after-school, but these specialized programs really help both to stimulate their growth and learning, and also, of course, give mom and dad the opportunity to continue to work and know their child is safe after the school day. We partner with the Healing Place in Wake County to offer long-term peer support recovery service for people struggling with addiction. We have a contract with them where we can send our members to Wake County to receive that service. And we are in the process of building a 200-bed facility in New Hanover County that will replicate that model, 100 beds for men and 100 beds for women. We have specialized programs for pregnant women who can have their baby and remain in recovery. And we offer more than 38 unique additional services for our members. We try to do innovative value-added supports for members and families. So we offer home and vehicle mods for people who aren't on the state's innovations waiver. So a home and vehicle modification, what does that mean? You've got somebody who is in a wheelchair and needs a wheelchair ramp. The state Medicaid waiver will pay for that if somebody is on that waiver, but if they are not, there is not otherwise a mechanism for getting that paid for. Trillium sets aside a pot of money to do those kinds of things because we want people to be able to live as independently as possible in their community. We offer gym memberships so people can stay healthy and active and combat some of the negative things that can happen in our lives and in our society, like everybody staying home for 15 months and your only companion was your refrigerator. So, you know, we try and work on those things. We offer a wide array of evidence-based practices to treat mental illness and addiction, including some technologies that are not otherwise available. I think we're the only program in the state that has the ability for children and adolescents who are in crisis to engage in a chat over the computer. So they might not be willing to really talk to a human being, but they all play video games. So having a chat with a trained clinician through the internet can feel like you're playing a video game, but you're actually getting your mental health needs addressed. We do a lot in the area of intellectual and developmental disabilities. We think sometimes that population is really overlooked in communities. And so we do try and offer a very broad array of living arrangements, from independent living to group homes. We do a lot in that arena with technology as well, to help people live their best life as independently as possible. So, you know, I actually left home, and in my haste to leave home, I left my telephone. And I feel completely like I don't know what day of the week this is, because we are all so used to walking around with all of those devices that keep us going. But that same sort of technology can help people with developmental disabilities live much more independently. Visited a home several years ago, and we have replicated some of that, where the person could wake up in the morning and you don't even think that you probably go in and raise your blind or whatever. But if that person doesn't have the fine motor skills to be able to do that, then they're stuck in the dark in their room until an aide can come in and raise the blinds. Well, there's technology that allows that person to say, raise the blinds. And suddenly their quality of life is just enhanced by that little measure of independence. And we try and do a lot of that. I mentioned the home and vehicle modifications. We really try and keep people living at home with their natural family for as long as that is safe and what they want to do, because that is where they in general will get the best care. Foster care, we're all paying a lot of attention to children in foster care and concern about those kids. They've already experienced a trauma by virtue of being in foster care. The last thing we want to do is add to that trauma. So one of the things that Trillium has done is basically remove all prior authorization requirements for any child in foster care to access any service. Don't slow the process down. Get that child into service as quickly as possible. We created a position at Trillium that is a dedicated liaison to all county departments of social services. That is his job, is to stay in touch with those county departments of social services, keep his finger on the pulse, and he's the one they can call when they've got a problem. And he has the ability and the authority to activate everybody else within Trillium to get on that right that minute. We have created some additional services to try and address those issues. We have crisis respite for youth who are involved in DSS custody. We actually created 2 14-day crisis respite homes that are dedicated to social services. The only kids who go into those homes are children in the foster care population, and they're designed for crisis stabilization and to kind of have a break and figure out, okay, what's the best next step for this child, rather than bouncing the child from foster placement to foster placement to foster placement. Let's take a breather and figure out what makes sense. I talked about transportation. We do a lot of transportation. Like you, we are very rural. So you gotta get people around to get them where they need to go. Addressing the opioid epidemic and supporting counties through the promise of the Stepping Up initiative. I congratulate you for your dedication to that. A number of our existing counties are also very involved in the Stepping Up initiative. We have had someone on the state steering committee for that initiative now for, I think, about the past 4 years. But the promise of that initiative is, do we have the full continuum around it to serve people once they leave incarceration? And so I mentioned the long-term peer recovery program that we have the contract with in Wake County and that we are replicating in New Hanover. We offer sober living step down from treatment as long as is needed through an Oxford House model. We have about 200 Oxford House beds in our 26 counties. Oxford House is a self-governing abstinence community. that has demonstrated tremendous success. We have a 26-bed women and children residential treatment program. We, again, have tried to eliminate all barriers. Anybody wanting medical assisted treatment, there is no prior authorization requirement. Go, access treatment. You know, we know substance use, as you all know, is probably the only thing in life that has a negative demand curve. The more you need substance use treatment, the less likely you are to want to go get it. So we try and make sure that when people are ready, when they finally reach the point of saying, I've had enough, I've got to do something, that there are no barriers to them moving in that direction. So a little bit about how we got to be 26 counties. Our two predecessor agencies were East Carolina Behavioral Health and Coastal Care. East Carolina Behavioral Health was formed by the merger of 5 previous area programs. Coastal Care was formed by the merger of 2. So we already started out in a consolidation mode. Since 2015, when we became Trillium, we have added 2 additional counties. Nash County and Columbus County decided to come join us. So this is, you know, we're used to adapting and growing and evolving. We really do everything we can do to make sure that people get the care they need. We have a whole array of crisis services, as I've mentioned, the No Wrong Door. Most of our services do not require any prior authorization, so people get in them quickly. Our Neighborhood Connections Department that works directly with counties. We also do a lot of training. So we do a lot of mental health first aid training for people in the schools and other community leaders so that they feel better prepared to deal if they experience someone with a mental health crisis. I'm proud that before everything kind of got shut down with the pandemic, Trillium had 2 of the 25 highest rated mental health first aid trainers in the country. And that is a service that we offer free of charge to our communities. We also do a lot of crisis intervention training for law enforcement to make sure that law enforcement has all of the tools they need to best address people having a crisis. And we just recently created a new department that we are calling One Community, that is a complete outreach program. Rather than waiting for people to come to us and say, hey, I might have a need, we are actually sending people out into the communities and knocking on doors and saying, we know the pandemic's been hard on you. We know depression has gone up. If you look, it's probably good from a revenue perspective if you're a county commissioner, but if you look at the ABC sales, you know, alcohol sales are up. So the pandemic has had some negative consequences on people's health. And rather than waiting for them to come to us, our One Community folks are going out in the community to seek out people who need our help and are interested in our service. And we're particularly focusing on communities of color and health disparities with that outreach initiative. So what would it look like if you decided to join Trillium? Like my colleague, Brian, our goal is, you know, we're in the medical field, so first do no harm. Keep everything as stable as possible and then look to improve what might need to be improved. So stability for the members who are currently in service, stability for the providers who are currently delivering that services. We would do everything to make sure there was no disruption of care. We would offer contracts to every provider who currently has a contract with Cardinal. I'm confident that our Cardinal colleagues and our VIA colleagues would be very collaborative in making sure that could happen. We would plan to hire the staff who are currently working with members in this area. Because again, if somebody has a care coordinator with whom they have built a relationship, we don't want to get in the middle of disturbing that relationship. So we will hire those staff if they're interested in coming to work for us. And then we'd work to look at the gaps and see if there's anything that needs filling here. And I think some of our demonstrated ability to bring innovative solutions to really rural communities would serve us and your citizens well in that endeavor. And then finally, we work with all of the rest of your community stakeholders to see other things that they might be interested in working together on. I gave you some statistics on how many people we serve and some information about our budget breakdown. I think the important thing in all of that is 88% of every dollar we receive goes into direct services. That 88% is a little bit misleading because the state tells us we have to put in a dedicated savings account to protect them from us having any financial problem. So really very, I think we run a thin ship because we want most of those dollars to go into services in the community. One last thing that makes us very unique, and Brian alluded to this, when we became Trillium, we designed an alternative board governance structure, which we believe really keeps us close to our counties that we serve and gives every county the opportunity to have input into the business operations of Trillium. So we currently have 3 regions. Each region has a regional director who is the person that the county commissioners, the sheriff, you name it, can call if there's a problem in their county. And each county in each region appoints 2 members to a regional advisory board. One county commissioner and another person who meets the requirements that are outlined in North Carolina law. So people with mental health experience, nurses, attorneys, that whole long list. And then each of those regional boards elects 3 members from the regional board to come to the governing board. One county commissioner and 2 other individuals. We also have 3 community consumer and family committees that are regional, and the chair of each of those regional consumer and family advisory committees also serves on the governing board. So one of the things we're very proud of is that 25% of the members on our governing board are consumers and families. 25% of the members on our governing board are county commissioners, just like you, and the other 50% are made up of those mental health professionals or other kinds of individuals outlined in statute. That model, we think, then makes us very easily adaptable to expanding into additional territory. So, I have heard from all of the 5 counties that the 5 counties really want to stick together. You've been working together for a long, long time. The CEO of Coastal Care, when we negotiated the consolidation agreement with Coastal Care, was Foster Norman, who was the CEO of 5 County for many, many years. So it's been a long, long time that you all have been working together, and we understand that you might want to, that you want to stay together. Our regional board structure, we think, would lend itself very easily to that because you would be a region, and our board would just expand accordingly. Mr. Chair, members have, I think, an expanded PowerPoint. They have a 1-pager. As I said, my intent tonight was to come and give you a little appetizer, and I hope that we have piqued your appetite and you would like to learn more about Trillium. We are very, very pleased to come back at any point and talk more. As I said to Chairman Davis at the beginning, right before the meeting started, we know this is a big decision, and we know county committees have an awful lot on their plates. And most of the time, you'd probably just as soon not have to think about mental health, because there's the grocery store and the walking path and the everything else, the bridge that's falling apart. Everything else that everybody talked to you about today in the listening session. But this is an important decision for you to make, and we are happy to provide you with any information that you need to best enable you to make that decision. I ask you to consider Trillium in your deliberations, and again, we're more than happy to provide additional information. One last thing, Mr. Chair, I neglected. I have two colleagues with me tonight that I should introduce to you because they also have a wealth of information about Trillium, and if you want to corner them after the meeting, they would love to talk to you. So I have our Vice President of Clinical Operations, Christy Edwards. Wave, Christy. She's in the pink. And our Director of Network Contracting and our Provider Service Line, Ms. Luz Terry. And they are just two of the 550 people who live and work in North Carolina. Ms. Edwards lives in Greenville and Ms. Terry lives in Havelock. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your attention. And again, we're happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for President. That was the appetizer, and the main dish is going to really be good. So, Board of Commissioners, do you all have any questions or concerns right now? Like I said before, our basic function is to make sure that the citizens of Warren County get the best services. And we're looking forward to how that opens up for us in this county. As the process continues, I'm sure that there's a wealth of information that we all have to consider. And hopefully in the future or sometime or another, I'm not sure how that's going to look, that we'll basically have you come back and I guess going into the meat and potatoes of what your program offers.
We're happy to kill all the trees you would like us to bring to you.
You don't have to kill that many for us. Thank you again for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we have East Point Health Services. And they're coming with their tree package.
So good evening, and thank you for the invitation to join you this afternoon. I bet you're tired at this point. So what I'd like to do is just spend a few minutes. We were, when the invitation was extended to us, I was told I had a 10-minute time limit, so I want to be very respectful of that. And I know that we're the last one on the agenda, so I want to make this very brief, but I want to do an introduction to East Point. I didn't come prepared to inundate you with all the services we provide, all the things we do, but I want to tell you about our organization. And I think behind me, I have a special guest. This is our board chair, Mr. Jerry Stevens. He has just retired from the County Commission Board of Robeson County, and he has served as our board chair for almost 2 years now. And so I want to turn the microphone over to him for just a second before I begin. Thank you. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and other commissioners here in this great county of Warren and staff of Warren and the citizens of Warren. We're mighty delighted to be here today to just show you our faces and give a short presentation. Our record speaks for itself, you know, and we'll get into the meat of it. The services that we provide, DHS has given us high marks, and we've got good certification. So we're gonna let our CEO come now and to present to you that which she has. And I just wanted to say how to do and come and say hello on behalf of our East Point board. Our East Point board is, I've been on the board, East Point board 12 years, Southeastern, which I was a part of down in the eastern part of our state, southeastern part, Robeson County. Some of you might know that if you travel 95, you've got to go through Robeson County before you hit the South Carolina border. Well, when I first came on East Point, we merged. It was very important to our county. Anyone know our county? Our county is very diverse. And it was very important that our East Point board become diverse with services, with staff, and those kind of things. It's been very important. Our board now is very diverse. We have 3 Native Americans, 3 Caucasians, and 2 African Americans that serve our board. So our board is very diverse. 4 women and 4 men on our vote board. Very diverse board. So that has been very important to our county because of the makeup of our county. Anyone know the makeup of Robeson County? Native Americans, African Americans, and Caucasians, and other races that make up, but we are very diverse. So that was very important. And we worked very hard. And also to make sure that county commissioners like myself, given the opportunity, if the county so, to serve on the board, because if they do that, then they can report back to the board who represents the people. So it's been very important to us, and we've done a great job. So I turn it over now to Ms. Sarah Stroud, our CEO, who's doing a great job. She'll introduce who she has with us, and I've enjoyed my travel. I'm a country boy, you know. I've been in Robeson County all my life, so it's been mighty nice coming through your county, and I may just come back just to visit the surroundings. Thank you.
We'll sell your house.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stevens. We appreciate you making that trip this afternoon. And before I begin, I just want to introduce the team that I brought with me tonight, because as Mr. Stevens said, I want you to see the faces of East Point. And as my colleague said, this is just a few of our members, but some of our great leadership team. So if you would just stand real quickly when I call your name. Kelly Carson is our Chief Operating Officer. And Kelly, to summarize what she does, is all things clinical. She is also leading our effort to become a tailored plan. And Kelly has about 18 years of behavioral health experience in North Carolina. Thank you, Kelly. And then Victoria Jackson is our Chief of External Operations. Victoria is all things provider. She knows our provider network. She works diligently to make sure that they are represented and are treated fairly in our counties. And then last but not least, Catherine Dalton, she's our Chief of Business Operations. She handles all the finances, but she does a great job of that. But the other thing about Catherine that is so unique too, a lot of times you get, and I can say this because I also am a CPA, but sometimes you get bean counters and all they care about is the numbers. But Catherine probably knows the clinical piece and the provider piece as well as most of us. So I wanted you to meet Catherine as well. So again, I'm going to be respectful of your time, and I'm not going to repeat a lot of what has already been said, because quite frankly, the MCOs in our state are charged with doing certain things. We take care of members, we take care of our providers, we take care of our communities. And it was a pleasure to listen to my colleagues talk about what they do in their counties, because I think they do a superb job, just as I believe East Point does a superb job. And I think it's very important to recognize the excellence across the state. But I was trying to think, as I came up the interstate today, how do I help you understand how East Point is maybe different from other MCOs in the state? And so I'm gonna try to share this with you. Now, I hope you'll understand. I'm a North Carolina girl, born and bred, right? And if you look at me, you know food is important to North Carolinians, right? So I'm coming up the interstate today and I pass 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even know how many Cracker Barrels I passed, right? And they're wonderful. I can go in right now and get that hamburger steak I like, and my order of collards, I usually get 2 sides of turnip greens, and it's delicious. I always get the same thing, whether I do it at Smithfield or down at Myrtle Beach, right? How's East Point not Cracker Barrel? We are more like that local diner that sits in your communities, and we've all got them, right? And we know when we go in there, we're going to get excellent food. We're going to get excellent food. But what's different is when we walk through that door of our local diner, they know how to fix our hamburger. They know our mama just went in the hospital. They know we're getting ready to have a grandbaby. They know us. And that's how I like to think about East Point. We're 10 counties. We have not grown so large that we can't keep our finger on what's going on in our counties and connect in a very real way with the members, the stakeholders, and the counties that we serve. So if you hear nothing else tonight, I hope that you hear that we are not Cracker Barrel. We are not cookie cutter. We really tailor our delivery of services for the counties we serve. That said, I do want to highlight a few things about East, so you have some facts and figures. You also have a one-pager from us, and you can see on our one-pager, you can see the 10 counties that we represent. We're just inland from Trillium, and we go almost to the Virginia border, to the South Carolina border as well. We're just a little bit closer inland to you. So let's talk a little bit about our organization. I want to start by sharing with you a pie chart, and I don't know, yeah, I think we're a little far ahead of it. But what the pie chart that I have shows you is the diversity of our organization. We have a very, very diverse organization, and it reflects the diversity in our provider network and in our communities, as Mr. Stevens alluded to. So 47% of our 304 employees are Caucasian, but 42% are African American, 10% are Native American, and then 1% reflect Hispanic and Asian populations. And I think that is very important to note, that our counties are very reflective of what you would have here in Warren County as well. I won't spend a lot of time on our financials, but for the coming year, our budget is around $351 million. So we're used to handling large sums of money and making sure that we squeeze all the juice out of the dollars we can to serve our members. Our Medicaid enrollees were just over 227,000, and our state population is almost 86,000. Last year, out of those members, almost 33,000 people received a service, and we processed almost 1 million claims. As you know, that's a really important function of the LME MCO, because providers depend on getting their money turned around very quickly. And so that's one of the things that we do exceedingly well under Catherine's leadership at East Point, is make sure that when a provider submits a claim, they get that claim paid. They submit a clean claim, it gets paid very quickly. And of course, we also have the call center with 24/7, 365 days a year service, and we answered almost 30,000 calls all across counties last year. As I said, we have 10 counties. Robeson County happens to be our largest county, and Greene County is our smallest county. They're very similar in size to Warren County, and of our 18-member board, they have 3 representatives on our board. So we really try not to let our counties get lost in the shuffle of being an MCO. We do have 4 regional offices, and I thought it was important to mention that. They extend, we have one in Rocky Mount, which is our northernmost location. We have one in Kinston, which is Lenoir County, one in Beulahville, which is Duplin County, and then all the way down in Robeson County in Lumberton. So we span pretty much north to south with office locations and regional representation. And I am skimming through my presentation. You have it, and I hope you'll take a look at more detail And I hope we have an opportunity to talk further about our services in the near future. I think it's really important to let the numbers speak about what we have invested in our providers. And since 2017, we've invested over $21 million in provider rate increases. And the reason we do that is not to make the providers rich. No, the reason we do that is because we believe in our members. And we know if we take care of our providers, then they in turn take care of our members. So we try to put our money where our mouth is. And so that's why we've invested in those rate increases. We've also really paid attention to our counties and offered county grants. So since 2017, we have paid almost $600,000 in grants to the counties so they could work on the projects that were near and dear to their heart, whether it was working specifically around opioids, or maybe it was anti-bullying, or any number of other things that the counties wanted to target specifically in their areas. So again, we tried to put our dollars where it would make a difference. Stepping up has been mentioned a couple of times, and I would just add that we too are very concerned about what is happening in our jails. And each day we check in with our jails to see if there are members that are there and how we can best work to transition them out and into service. So would love to talk to you more about stepping up and find out more about how we could share information back and forth around that. Mr. Stevens mentioned our board, and we are very proud of our board. And I would also like to highlight that on our board, out of the 18 members, 7 of them are county commissioners. We really believe that county governance representation is very important. So 40% of our board is made up of county commissioners. Another way that we're very engaged in our counties is with our community relations team. They are assigned to the counties and they are on the ground and they are involved. Right before COVID, and of course, COVID changed the whole world as we know it. The year prior to COVID, we did over 150 presentations, planned about 300 events, attended over 1,000 community meetings. That's a lot of meetings in 10 counties. And then delivered behavioral health information to over 26,000 residents through these events. So I think that just the data speaks for our involvement in our counties. We also run a very robust crisis intervention training system. And we have trained over 1,400 first responders in our counties. And of course, we're very active and involved in the opioid task force in each of our counties. I wanted to speak very briefly again about our provider network. We have 230 provider agencies. And within those, there are lots of practitioners, but outside of that, we also have 40 licensed independent practitioners and have contracts with 44 hospitals across the state. So a total of almost 315 providers. Let's talk about COVID for just a minute too, because we're just kind of hopefully coming out on the other side of that, although we're still wearing masks and taking precautions, and who knows what the future looks like with that. So I think it's important to talk about how we responded very quickly to COVID. One day we're all going about our lives like we always did, and the next we're all in lockdown. I know we all remember too vividly how that happened. So during that time, we thought it was, again, very important to support our providers so they could remain stable and continue delivering the services that they provided. So one of the ways, again, we chose to do that was through rate increases. And we provided $6.5 million in rate increases to our providers to help stabilize them during that time. We also approved a 5% innovations rate increase during that time as well. Also, again, investing specifically in our counties, $250,000 to counties during times of COVID. And I would love, like I said, to talk to you more about specific services and would welcome the invitation to do that. But I think I could summarize it by saying, currently, there are no wait lists for services for behavioral health care in our 10 counties. Just a few more points I would like to make. Again, my colleagues, there's all kinds of metrics, and we all are held to the letter on those metrics and numbers, and you can take a look at those yourself. But there is one that I would like to highlight from East Point, because I think it's extremely important, and that is one that the members do. The state judges us on a lot of things, like how fast we pay claims, how fast we answer the phone in the call center, how quickly we get people engaged in treatment when they are discharged from hospital. Those are things that we are all very familiar with. But really, at the end of the day, what matters to us is how we are serving our members in our communities. And I'd like to just highlight, for the last 3 years, East Point has scored the highest across the state on our member perception survey. So it's the annual member perception survey. And our members have rated us higher than the other LME MCOs in that arena. And that is very important to us. And you have those in your annual report that I gave you. Those slides are also highlighted in there. So, again, I know you've heard a lot of information tonight, and I think I will just summarize by saying thank you again. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I would welcome the opportunity to bring my team back and sit down face to face and elaborate more on the services we provide. They are very similar to our colleagues, but again, we have a little bit different way of working in our counties. So again, I thank you, and I appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you again. Are there any questions I might answer?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Board of Commissioners, are there any questions at this time? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, from VIA and Cardinal Innovation, Trillium Health Services and East Point Health Services, and to the Board of Commissioners, this is the way I would like to address this situation, and this is from a standpoint, of course, from the collaboration of the Board of Commissioners. Mr. Jones, going forward, I want you to create a timeline that we can go by as far as the three health services that did presentations today. I asked that Mr. Kingsbury be a part of that also, and two commissioners. There is only one commissioner tonight that I will put on center stage, just because she has been dynamic in providing information to this board in regards to these type of services, and that is Ms. Commissioner Baker. She has been a very key leader in giving us information on how we would continue with these services in the county. And Ms. Baker, I just asked if you would be a part of that, if you're okay with that. All right, so Mr. Jones, Ms. Baker will be a part of that. I will reserve the other seat to a later date. If one of the other Board of Commissioners at this time will want to serve on it, I myself don't have no problem serving on it, but I will yield to any other commissioner who would like to serve on this small committee to look at this information. You don't have to tell me at this time. We can discuss it later on if you choose to serve on that committee, and we'll go as such. If not, then I have no problem serving on it. And what I would like for the providers to do is absolutely give your information to Mr. Jones. If he doesn't already have it, be in contact with him. He's going to create a timeline. But that timeline, I just asked that the Board of Commissioners and himself And Ms. Kingsbury, we set aside a time to individually that we can meet with each one of you all, and you can do your presentation from there, and we can go into the weeds of what you provide and what you can offer us as our community looks for these services. That's how we would do that. And then at that particular time, at the conclusion of it, it will be brought to the governing body here on a different type of setting. So without objection, that is the way that we will take a look at that. Mr. Jones, if you would handle that, I would really appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out tonight. I know you drove afar. We're very attentive to your information. It's very important to us that we get this right, and I'm sure we look forward to hearing from you. Now, we're gonna, if you wanna leave now, I know it's a long travel for some of you all. Hey, we understand, we'll let you tiptoe out. We got some other business to consider, but thank you so much for your presentations. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we're gonna continue to item number 4, which is the county manager's update, and this is a review of capital improvement plan, the CIP, on countywide goals. Mr. Jones, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to review briefly with you all this evening our CIP project as part of our budget review. And so I'll briefly go through an overview of our budget as well as our CIP. Just wait till we're all set.
Jones,
Yes, sir.
I do apologize, but also to that committee, the DSS director, please.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
All right, looks like we're all set, so I'll go ahead and begin. As you know, you all have been working with our proposed budget for fiscal year 22 for some time now. And our next slide, the fiscal year 22 budget continues to be a challenge for us as we recover from the pandemic. And we have considered those variables as we make our way through the proposed budget for you all. The proposed budget for fiscal year 22 is $36,311,250. It shows just around 4.5% growth, and we are proposing to use $939,000 from our unrestricted fund balance. It still allows us to maintain our fund balance in accordance with the board's fund balance policy that you all approved. We also created the budget, if we go to the next slide, using the board's goals that you all started to work on in early 2020 before the pandemic struck. We talked about our strategic plan for the county, and the goals that we came up with were leadership and governance, county services, community and economic development, and agribusiness, to address a large part of what you all talked about today with our residents here. And again, if we move on to the next slide, we will just look at where our revenues come from. The largest portion of our revenues are in fact from our property taxes here in the county. And then we have sales tax revenue, followed by state and federal aid that we receive here in the county. Sorry, I didn't realize that we were having some technical difficulties. But I will continue on. I think you all have it on our live stream here. One of the issues that we face is in the projection for next year, it has to do with our property tax reduction. There was a significant increase in revenue to the tune of about $500,000 based on real estate values and adjustments that had to be made in the county's tax assessed value and tax roll. Again, I have highlighted how much we will be using in our unassigned fund balance. Next slide just shows you our tax assessed value that the county has faced. We are on an 8-year reassessment, reevaluation schedule. And so you can see in 2017, as the market changed, you saw that drop in assessed value. But the county has seen some growth in our assessed value as new properties have come on board, upgrades have been made to existing properties. But we are due for full reevaluation in 2025. Right. If we move on to the next slide, it really just shows you how our general fund expenditures are divided across the different services that we provide. And you will see that Warren County Public Schools is just over 19% in our budget for next year. That is the largest expenditure that we have from our budget. And I think I did hear some comment earlier about we spent more on our public safety and specifically the sheriff's office, and we do not. Our largest expenditure is schools. The sheriff's office and their different divisions comprise just a little over 14% of that budget. We can move on to the next slide. Here, I just wanted to highlight for you all our funding for Warren County schools. We fund schools in several different pots, and the total that we have available for providing funding for Warren County schools next year is $5.6 million, and it is divided over these different categories. Current expense, which is their operating expense that we support, an expansion budget that would allow them to take on additional programs, their SEMA program, which I will, in summary, call a STEM program that the Warren County Schools runs. And then we have capital projects. We receive sales tax funds dedicated to schools projects, as well as we are able to use lottery funds when appropriate. And the county serves as a pass-through for those lottery funds, but they have to show up in our budget. And next year, given the capital needs that our schools have identified, we have budgeted the full amount to help them with their projects that they have on deck to be completed next fiscal year. Again, this is just a graphical or table depiction of our funding for schools. And you can see that there was a decrease at the time of our last reevaluation in 2017, but there has been an increase since then. Okay. Right. We can move on to our next slide. So some of the highlights that we have in our budget are broadband implementation. Again, I'd like to be clear that broadband implementation is just that. It's not for an additional study. We are moving toward implementing a network here in the county once we can get the partner, or unless the legislature allows us to move forward and build and run a network on our own. Again, a compensation study we had conducted at least a couple of years ago at this point, and we are doing a modified implementation of that as well, and we have budgeted for those funds in next fiscal year. We can move on to the next slide, which really just highlights our fleet upgrade to vehicles to keep our county fleet in good condition and working order so that we don't find ourselves needing multiple vehicles in one 1 year. This way we consistently are able to budget for and plan for new fleet additions. We also have budgeted for additional funds for our Warren County Rescue Squad, which is our volunteer EMS squad. And again, we also have additional funds available to our volunteer fire department based on the services that we provide. Next fiscal year, we will be renewing our contracts with the volunteer fire departments. And that's where this level of funding will see benefit. We can move on to our next slide. Added items that came up through the review process include our Little Control pilot program, as well as additional dollars for a paid firefighter initiative, and that is $80,000. It's just a slight typo here. We can move on to our next slide. And here we actually get to our CIP. Our total CIP funding for fiscal year 22 is approximately $3.5 million. We also see that we do have funding available for nonprofits as well as recreation, and we have experienced the normal inflation for health insurance, as well as a new program that will offer retiree health insurance. Again, we have some new positions in the budget. We have the normal funding that we have for Vance Granville Community College, forestry, and our Lake Gaston weed control. Again, the next slide addresses some of our capital improvement. We have a 5-year capital plan for approximately $15 million in long-term improvements, infrastructure needs, and programs for the county. And so for next year, as I mentioned before, we're at approximately $3.5 million. And some of those projects include our Warren County Schools projects that we mentioned, with the $1.2 million for a major roof replacement at our middle school. We also have by category county facilities where we have $886,000 budgeted. Some of the projects included in that number, which we have a detailed sheet for you, includes our EMS satellite stations. We have talked for a while here in the county about expanding our EMS stations, and this budget starts us to plan for those additional stations. EMS Station 4 is for the Owen area west of I-85. EMS Satellite Station 5 is for the Lake area where we have existing needs. Then some of the projects that we are working on also include broadband, as I mentioned before, updates to our fleet, and also our culture and recreation by area. We have $822,000 there as well. And that includes funding that we have for our part of our grant, which are the renovations for the Magnolia Ernest Recreation Park at Soul City is approximately $300,000. Additionally, we have $400,000 in planning and design money for a new community center, which is something that the commissioners have talked about since my arrival. And those funds will allow us to move forward with planning for what that community facility would look like here in the county. So despite the multiple challenges that we have for fiscal year 22, we do feel that we have been strategic and conservative for you and put in a proposal before you. Our CIP plan considers our long-term infrastructure needs and hopefully moves the county forward in trying to achieve the strategic goals that you all have set before us. And this actually includes the departmental reorganization. It also will require us to just closely monitor the budget and make sure that we are following any additional changes that happen due to our being in recovery mode from the pandemic. We think COVID-19 will actually have a long-term impact on how we conduct business, and we are ready to be able to conduct business remotely because that seems to be how we will be able to conduct business going forward and still serve our residents. So again, we look forward to discussing any additional budget details that you all may have. And I'd like to, again, thank the Board of Commissioners and our county staff for their dedication during these unprecedented times as we review and put forward a budget proposal for our next fiscal year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We appreciate that update. I don't think there's nothing to be said about that, but I will yield to the county commissioner if they had questions, please. All right. That means you're doing a fine job, Mr. Jones. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, appears to me we have to consider an appointment of interim emergency service Captain Chris Pegram to the Community Child Protection Vitality Team. And this is CCPT, CFPT as representative of emergency services operation is recommended by the CCPT/CFPT. I assume that this is a role that Mr. Pascal had. Is that right? And
Yes, but I will have Ms. Pulley provide some additional details on that one.
okay,
I apologize. I am not sure why the letter is not attached. But this board, they always have someone from the emergency services operator on that board. So Mr. Pascal was in that position prior. They just need to make it official. I think they have already asked, they've already notified Mr. Pegram of that position. I think he's already he's been talking with them to find out what all they need. So they just want to make it official to appoint him to that committee. And the committee is not an actual DSS committee. It is run through. Is Emma still there? Emma's gone. I was going to get her to explain it a little bit better, and I really wish that the letter was attached. I really do apologize that that's. Oh, is she? She saw me. I'm going to put her on the spot. Emma, the child protection and fatality team, correct me, the letter for some reason is not attached to the agenda, so I'm trying to explain what this team is. This is not actually an entity of DSS, but they work with DSS. Okay. Right, okay, and the emergency services department, that is one of the positions that's required, is that correct? Okay, yeah.
all right, good enough. Thank you. So, Board of Commissioners, for your consideration and approval, the board will entertain a motion that we approve of what has been presented and stated on the item number 5.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve agenda item 5 as presented to the board.
It's been properly motioned by Commissioner Hunt, second by Commissioner Baker, that we approve item number 5 has been stated and presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you for that approval. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, it's been a long day, long evening, and we really do appreciate the work that has been done. Before we conclude in adjourning our meeting of item number 6, I will open the floor for any questions concerned by the Board of Commissioners. Is there anything from the staff?
I do. I want to follow with you all on the committee for the review of the LME information that you all just put forward. We have been having discussions with the DSS directors and county managers of our 5 county agency, that participate in our Stepping Up initiative, and would like to talk to you further about some suggestions for how we review this information going forward.
Okay, just particular on Stepping Up initiative or all of it?
No, it is about how we review this information from the CMOs that presented to you this evening.
Okay. If you would do this then, individually, give us a call and talk to us about it. How about that?
Sure.
Okay? Y'all okay with that? Yeah. Just give us a call and individually, and we talk and we'll come back to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, if there are no other business to address tonight, I hereby say that we adjourn. Thank you for coming out.